One of the most important news earlier this week was the capitulation of the British Prime Minister Liz Truss about her taxation plan. On September 23, her Chancellor of Exchequer announced a policy which Liz Truss had been campaigning during her leadership campaign days, that she would reduce the taxation on the rich. The plan was the tax rate will come down for the top bracket from 45% to 40%. Remember, Liz Truss is a leader of the Conservative Party. Conservative Party, by its ideological framework, has been opposed to the policy of high taxation on the rich by Labour governments. Successive Labour governments have increased taxation on the super rich. So, Liz Truss had thought this would certainly go down well with the party cadre as well as the members of parliament belonging to her party. But there was enormous degree of resentment. Many Conservative MPs asked this question: when our country's economy is facing £65 billion of fiscal deficit, that time, is it a right policy to give and add more comfort to the super rich of this country? They said, especially this is disastrous when Liz Truss government is planning to cut down on many welfare measures for the common people. Many members of the Conservative Party said they will not support it on the floor of Parliament. And that's the reason Truss had to backtrack and the taxation plan was scrapped. That's how a true democracy functions. But what happens in our country? We have several examples. Take the example just 3 years ago. In 2019, our government announced that they will bring down the corporate tax on the big business houses from 30% to 22%. What was the government logic? If we bring down exactly the same Liz Truss had, if we bring down the tax, then the corporate houses will make more investment and that would help our economy grow. What happened? Government's own report, Parliamentary Committee of Estimates' own report says 2019 and 2020 and 2020 and 21, 2 financial years, on account of this reduction of 8% of the corporate tax, Indian Treasury lost 1.84 lakh crore. Mind you, this is money which is even much larger than the entire money that is allocated for the NREGA program, which is for the poor across the country. In fact, the government has been reducing it, saying there are fiscal deficit and they do not want it to balloon. So for the poor, the money allocation can be cut, but not for the rich. Rich has to be added greater comfort. And look at the government's logic, that investment 2019 to 2022, 3 years, you look at the record of the past 20 years, any 3-year period, the corporate houses have, in fact, invested much less than they have done in the past. So what was the consequence of this reduction? Business house had pocketed the money and made no investment. Shouldn't the member of parliament oppose this? Shouldn't they come forward and say, when you are reducing the allocations for public, for the poor, for the less than privileged sections, why are you giving this additional comfort to the super rich of this country? But unfortunately, our members of parliament follow a herd mentality. What the leader says has to be followed without any questioning. But then this is not simply a question of the current government, which is a Modi government. Even the government, UPA government, Congress government, this had been the case. The leader forced a plan and all MPs followed it. It's not simply about national parties. Look at the regional parties. Any regional parties of any political hue, supreme leader says and everyone follows. Is this what we call democracy? Shouldn't we say that this is a half democracy? Shouldn't we think how we make this democracy more vibrant?